Welcome to the Philippines, a land shaped by sea, resilience, and history's relentless passage. This is the story of a diverse archipelago where ancient kingdoms met explorers, where independence was won through centuries of struggle. From pre colonial barangays to the height of independence, we journey through the defining moments that sculpted the Philippines. Our story begins in a land of islands, thousands of them, each with its own community, or barangay, led by datus. These early settlements were rich with trade, culture, and connections. Chinese merchants, Indian traders, and Arab investigators all crossed these waters, making the Philippines a place of cultural confluence long before European maps ever marked its existence. The Laguna copperplate inscription, discovered in a rice field, tells of debts forgiven and laws laid down, hinting at a complex society already in place. Influence of Islam, 14th century. As the 14th century dawns, new ideas sail to Philippine shores. Muslim traders and missionaries bring Islam to the south, establishing sultanate in Sulu. Islam shapes governance and society, marking Mindanao as a center of influence that endures even as foreign powers arrive. Arrival of Ferdinand Magellan. 1521 marks a fateful encounter. Ferdinand Magellan arrives, seeking new routes and riches for Spain, but his story ends on the shores of Mactan, where Lapu-Lapu, a local chief, repels this foreign incursion. Magellan falls, but the arrival signals the start of Spain's long, complex relationship with the archipelago. Miguel Lopez lands in Cebu, claiming the islands for Spain. Spanish colonization begins, marking the start of over 300 years of foreign rule. This era brings lasting change, from new governance to the spread of Christianity. The Philippines is woven into Spain's empire, its culture forever altered. Friars build churches across the islands, and Roman Catholicism becomes deeply embedded into Filipino identity. In 1571, Manila is established as the capital, a strategic port and the heart of Spanish colonial rule. It becomes a bustling trade hub connecting Asia to the Americas. Manila grows into a city of commerce and culture, a jewel in Spain's empire. For 250 years, the Manila-Acapulco Galleon Trade flourishes, with goods like spices, silk, and silver crossing oceans. It's a line of trade that binds continents and cultures, embedding the Philippines in a global network as early as the 16th century. In 1762, Manila falls to the British in the global struggle of the Seven Years' War. Although the British leave 2 years later, their brief occupation exposes weaknesses in Spanish rule and sparks thoughts of independence among Filipinos. By the late 19th century, change is in the air. The Philippine Revolution begins, led by bold visionaries like Jose Rizal, Andres Bonifacio. It's a cry for independence and reform, sparking the first major push for freedom from Spanish rule. The people rise with courage. Treaty of Paris, 1898. After the Spanish-American War, the Philippines is ceded to the United States in the Treaty of Paris. Suddenly, Filipino independence fighters find themselves under a new foreign power, just as victory had seemed within reach. Philippine-American War, 1899 to 1902. Resistance continues in the Philippine-American War as revolutionaries led by Emilio Aguinaldo fight for freedom from American rule. The war is fierce, with deep losses. In the end, the Philippines falls under US sovereignty, but the seeds of nationalism remain. 1935 brings a new chapter. The Philippines is granted Commonwealth status, a step towards full independence. Led by President Manuel Quezon, the nation embarks on reforms and plans for self-rule, while the people look towards a future of independence. World War II and Japanese occupation from 1941 to 1945. In 1941, war comes again. Japan invades, plunging the Philippines into occupation. The suffering is immense, but so is the resistance. Allied forces, joined by Filipinos, eventually liberate the island in a fierce struggle. Once more, the Philippines rises from the ashes. After liberation, the Philippines faces the challenge of rebuilding a war-torn land. In the struggle to rebuild, the Filipino spirit endures, preparing for a long-sought independence. Finally, on July 4, 1946, the Philippines gains independence. Under the leadership of President Manuel Roxas, the nation stands on its own, free at last. The long struggle is over, but the journey of building a nation has only begun. In the aftermath of independence, a communist-led rebellion arises, rooted in the struggles of peasant farmers. The Hukbalahap rebellion challenges the government, highlighting ongoing social and economic issues that demand reform. In 1972, President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law. Power consolidates, dissent is silenced, and civil liberties are suspended. It's a dark era marked by oppression, but also one that ignites a fierce desire for democracy among Filipinos. In a defining moment of peaceful resistance, the People Power Revolution of 1986 removes Marcos from power. The streets fill with millions demanding change, and democracy returns as Corazon Aquino steps into history as the first female president of the Philippines. Nature reminds the Philippines of its power in 1991 as Mount Pinatubo erupts in one of the century's largest eruptions. Ash clouds blankets the land, displacing communities and reshaping the landscape. It's a test of resilience, one that the people meet with strength. 1992 sees the closure of US military bases in the Philippines, including Clark Air Base and Subic Bay. After decades of a United States presence, the Philippines stands more independent, reclaiming its land and marking a new phase in its sovereignty. Then comes the Asian financial crisis. The Philippines, like much of Asia, is hit hard by the 1997 financial crisis. The economy stumbles, but recovery efforts lead to reforms. It's a challenge that reshapes financial policies and governance, setting the stage for economic growth. Typhoon Haiyan strikes in 2013 with devastating force. Entire communities are swept away, and thousands lose their lives. The tragedy unites the nation and the world in relief efforts. Rodrigo Duterte's presidency is as controversial as it is transformative. His war on drugs brings security but raises human rights concerns. Meanwhile, a pivot towards China reshapes foreign policy, marking a shift in alliances for the Philippines. And now, the son of Ferdinand Marcos returns to the presidency. Bongbong Marcos's victory brings mixed reactions, sparking both optimism and reflection on the past. And so, the Philippines' rich history comes full circle, a story of resilience, culture, and transformation across centuries. But our journey through world history doesn't end here. Stay tuned as we explore the depths of other nations' past, from ancient civilizations to modern states, each with its own unique story waiting to unfold.